Perfect. Should we jump into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Wonderful.
Right.
So in this new episode of the ARTFUL podcast, we are joined by Austen. And thank you very much, Austen, to be part of the podcast. I saw your drawings through Instagram. They're incredible. And I wanted to talk to you about your process, your art, why you're doing drawings. And so thank you very much to be part of the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
So before we jump into your creative process, I wanted to give you the chance to introduce yourself to the audience, and just who are you, where you're calling from, and your artist background.
Well, my name is Austen AMAEFULE, a Nigerian artist. I'm based in Lagos. I draw mainly with charcoals, graphites, sometimes ballpoint pens. Really, I just anything that has to do with drawing. So I've been drawing since I was little. I'm turning 22 this year, so I'm still quite young, but I have been drawing since I was quite little. Then I started taking it seriously about 3 years ago. 2 years ago during the lockdown, that was when I decided to go full time into art. Although I'm still in school, but I do art most times these days.
It's a common theme that I decide to do this full time when during the lockdown. It's something that most of artists that I'm interviewing say, and it's really, for me, it's super interesting. And to be honest, I kind of decide the same. I decided to start this podcast during the lockdown. I decided to do most of my, like, the things that I was pushing. One day I will do it, one day I will do it, and I decided to do it during the lockdown. And it's in some way maybe it was good for a lot of people. They understood what they wanted to do 100%, which is great. How did you deal with the whole situation in lockdown? Because I know there was it was pretty tough in some part of like Africa. I don't know, especially in Nigeria, how it was.
Sorry, I kind of lost you for a second.
Oh, right.
I kind of lost you. Yeah.
Where did you?
When you were talking about how you also started your own, the things you were postponing during lockdown, you decided to go ahead with them.
So yeah, I decided to do a podcast, and decided to do a lot of things during the lockdown. I'm gonna go into 100%, and I was wondering, how did you deal with the whole situation of lockdown and the COVID? Because I know some part of Africa was pretty tough. And as an artist as well, how did you deal with the whole situation?
Well, for us, it was pretty tough because, we didn't have the facilities on ground to make things keep moving despite the lockdown. So a lot of things we were doing had to completely stop. School was stopped, work was stopped, everything was stopped. So you were just in your house doing nothing, social media every day. And, sometimes that gets to your head.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to. So I decided to, instead of doing nothing, I had a few papers and I said, okay, what the hell, why don't I go ahead and do this? So I did the work, and then I did another one, and then I started posting on Instagram, and then people started, Guy, you're really good. And then, I just kept going from there. And after, when the lockdown stopped, when everything continued going forward, I was so happy, because for a lot of people, like you said, lockdown wasn't a good period. A lot of people, rest in peace to all the people that, all the lives that were lost or whatever. But for some of us, it was kind of like a new beginning, because I learned a lot of things for myself. That was the longest time I spent for myself. So I learned a lot about myself, and, it kind of helped me to push forward with the art. So lockdown was really helpful as regards my art.
That's good. Yeah, I did a lot of artworks. I decided to do a lot of things during lockdown to improve in a certain way, even like my happiness, my general status, which was a good decision for me. So let's jump into your drawings, which are really really nice, really incredible.
Thank you.
It's not only about the technical skills, because I'm always impressed by hyper-realistic drawings and drawings that are really detailed, or artworks that are really detailed, and the artist takes takes the time to do. And something that I really do care about as an artist, and how when I talk to people about art, it's important for artists to learn a skill, and then like a technical skill, and then push that technical skills once you master to another level, to the boundaries of the technicality. So what does your what usually your routine for your artworks?
Well, do you mean how I create them? Like
Yeah,
how, for
how do
example,
you
how, yeah,
start? What's your inspiration? Where do you get the idea? Because they're not always, people are gonna see it. I'm gonna put some slides during the video, so
yeah,
they can understand what I mean. But it's not
yeah,
only a photographic drawings.
yes.
It feels like there is a meaning, there is something behind, which is super interesting. So
Well,
how, yeah.
for me, when as an artist, you can just, it's not just about what you do on the paper, it's also about what goes on in your head. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I may just be walking, I may just be outside, and I just have like a profound thought. I just like, wow, why is life like this? Why is this like this? And then it resonates in my head. Then when I go, maybe when I'm in my studio or my drawing book, my jotter, I just scribble some ideas that have to do with what I'm thinking, and then I shoot a reference, because obviously for you to do
Yeah.
hyperrealism, you need a really detailed reference. So most times, some of those ideas come from how I'm feeling, because it's not easy being in Nigeria, for example, being a young person in Nigeria, there's a whole lot of hardships. You have to struggle really hard.
Mm,
There's a
mm.
lot of corruption. So when you go through those things, it kind of creates, you have to voice out some of the things you're feeling inside, and it makes it easy for you to just put that into a drawing. So most times my ideas just come from what I'm going through, what everybody's going through, and how I can just mix everything up with what is in my head, and I just pour it on the paper. Sometimes it's difficult for me to explain too,
Yeah.
because art isn't simple. It's not so simple. Sometimes it's really complicated, but I try my best to just make it as simple as I can when I'm drawing.
So is that kind of like a reflection of what you're going through personally, and the culture that is be like around you? And
Yes.
yeah, oh, that's super nice. That's super interesting. I saw really wanted to ask you this, a particular use of gold. Is
Okay.
there a specific meaning behind, or is there something that aesthetically you just like?
Well,
What's the
I did. I saw this artist. I saw this artist. His name is Vaughn. So he does, but he's more cartoonish. Is not really
mm,
realism. So I love the way he used gold leaf in his
okay?
works.
You
Yeah,
go
but I don't
inspired.
use gold leaf. Yeah, I don't use gold leaf. I use gold paint.
Mm,
I use gold paint because I feel like gold leaf kind of reflects a lot of light, so it stands out from the drawing. But this one kind of goes in without reflecting a lot of light.
yeah.
So I like the aesthetic behind it. And then I also like, because there's something regal, there's something royal about gold. Whenever people see gold, it just kind of catches their attention. So I
Mm.
just love to put that element in my work too. I
Yeah,
think that's the major reason.
because it jumped into to my eye, because I'm kind of like attached to the like gold as a color, because one day I didn't really think about it ever, but one day I was like, why do I always come back to gold? Why do I will come back to the use of gold in my
Yeah.
artworks? I just literally restart to use gold again. It's I think it's because the connection with my father, because he's a goldsmith.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
I was always surrounded by that kind of
Gold,
like the
yes.
gold and the prestige and that kind of thing. So I think that's the connection. So if I see an artwork like that, like yours, I wanted to understand why there is the use of gold, because for me, I think that's the use. Obviously, I like the aesthetically
Yeah.
aspect, but yeah, I think that's my reason why I use that. But yeah, super nice. Why portrait? Why do you decide to to do portrait? Is there something that the reason behind?
Well, yes, there's a reason behind, because I feel like portrait kind of conveys the largest emotion. Like, you can draw, if you're drawing like a figure,
Mm,
it's quite difficult to the figure, a figure is dancing, what's the meaning behind the dance. But
yeah,
with portrait, you can straight ahead see the emotion on the face. You can always see the emotion. And even if you're French, you're German, you're Spanish, you're Nigerian, you can immediately know, okay, this person is happy, this person is sad, this person is, because portraits, emotions are universal, no matter the culture you come from. If somebody's smiling, if a French man smiling is a German man smiling
I
and
love
everything.
that.
So yeah. So I think that's why I decided to do portraits, because I feel with portraits you can convey the largest amount of information
Hmm.
and detail through. Yeah.
And what's do you work? Do you work in series? Or is that every drawing is like it's a specific moment and
Uh,
specific?
it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. I work in series. I work in series. Then I also do some individual pieces. It depends on just how I'm feeling at the moment.
Hmm.
Sometimes I do an individual piece, and then months later I go back to the piece and I'm inspired by it again, and then I decide to do a follow up to that
Mm.
piece. So it's kind of a bit of both. I like to work singly, then I like to work in series also.
How long does it take for you to let's say finish the
Ah,
artworks? Yeah.
it takes a while. It takes a really long time. It takes a really long time. It takes a really long time, to be honest. And it depends. If school right now, school is not in session, so I kind of have a really long break. So I
Mm.
can't just go ahead and spend my whole days in the studio working. But if school is in session, sometimes it takes 4 months, even 5 months before I'm done with just a single piece. But if I'm at home, just in the studio, it could take me maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on how, because the works are usually quite big. So depending on how,
Mm.
and also, sometimes as an artist, you might have an art block. So you
Yeah.
might just work like, you might not be able to, if you just come and you're just staring at it and you won't add anything.
Yeah.
And then there's some good days where you can spend like 20 hours sitting
Yeah.
still and working. So for me, it varies really. It varies.
Yeah.
But
You
in
mentioned
general, it takes a while.
something that it's literally like the terror of every single artist that I met, I interview, I talk to. It's the block, the artist block. It's something
Uh,
that sometimes it's like you cannot understand why. Like this, I have some skills. I know I can do this. I know I have an idea behind. I know I have everything lined up to make it work. Why is it not working?
yeah.
It's so
So
interesting
annoying.
and frustrating, like
Yeah.
what's going on. But it's the attachment. I think it's because you get so attached to your artworks that um if there is no connection in that specific moment, there is no way for you to carry on working on the drawings, on the paintings. Which is, yeah, it's so, it goes after it, I can say it goes behind um the materiality of the drawings,
Yes.
of like the
Yes.
artwork. So there is an emotional connection there with your artwork. How do you usually get out from this, like the block, the artist block?
I to be honest, I won't say there's a straight way. I won't say,
Yeah.
because sometimes if you do what you did, maybe you had an ad block before, and then you do the same thing you did to come out from that one, it doesn't work
Mm,
again.
mm,
So now I've learned to pause whenever I feel an ad block. I think what really helps me is I come on social media and I just check other artists. I just go through other
yeah.
artists. There are a lot of artists I admire. I just go through their page. I just take that time to enjoy their own works. Sometimes from there I might get inspired to continue. But if I don't get inspired to continue, no matter, I just continue enjoying it. Because there was a time I had I was having a really bad art block, and then I decided to force myself to keep working. And I think that's the worst because I just ended up hating that work. I didn't like what I was doing because I was forcing
Yeah.
myself, and I ended up just abandoning the work entirely. I just threw it aside. So I think what really helps me is to just go
Get
check
away.
other artists. Yeah, get away from the work and just go through other
Mm.
artists. And I think that really helps.
I do. I did a couple of times pushing through, and it kind of worked. It was really frustrating. It was really like there's always like this anxious feeling on you when something that you really care about doesn't work. And you can see like in real time you're doing it and it doesn't work. It builds up this like anxious in you. um I did push through a couple of times. It kind of worked. Obviously you don't really love the artworks at the end because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was too devastating for you emotionally.
yes, yes,
um
yes, true.
but it kind of, I don't know, it kind of worked because in the end I could do something better after. But I usually do take a break, like even a short break, just a couple of days, or just maybe just an afternoon.
Yeah.
Depend what I feel. But I do use exercise a lot. I do use
Oh,
go for a run,
yeah.
or go to the gym itself. Or I do boxing a lot. Um,
Okay, okay, that's
so
fun.
I kind of get into them like the focus during the exercise, during the running. I'm thinking about that, and it helps me to process to the thing. So that's I usually deal with an artist block. That yeah, that's I channel the energy that I should use on the artist, on the
Yeah.
artwork, into exercising,
So yeah,
which
that's
is
that's really nice.
yeah
That's really
I
nice.
yeah I think that's my way of dealing with that. Which help me to keep in shape as well. So it's
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
it's all
That's
good
true. That's true.
because
That's
yeah,
true.
those the art blocks, they come pretty
Yeah,
often. So
yeah, yeah. Crazy. Yeah,
keep in
yeah. It
shape,
can be
keep in
bad.
shape. Why you're young, and as an artist, I think it's really brave for you to go full time in this, um as an older artist actually. So why did you decide to do art, um in general? like why art? Why did you decide to channel your focus, your energy into doing artworks?
Well, I'm not doing art full time. When I said what I meant is I decided to go professional, but I'm a student. I'm still in
All
school. I'm
right.
studying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I'm
yeah,
studying.
still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, still, yeah, yeah. And to be honest, like you said, it's really difficult because a lot of people believe art is starved. A lot of people
Yeah,
believe that starving artists, especially in Africa, people just decide, okay, why do you want to be an artist? And personally, I feel like it's something you love doing. You can't escape what you love, no matter what. You just
yeah,
have to, you
yeah,
just have to put your because if I'm doing something else, my mind is always going to be here. But whenever I'm drawing, I'm the happiest. I'm not even thinking about anything else. I'm just me and my artwork together in that space, and
that's
that gives
great.
me the greatest happiness and every other thing. So even though it might be difficult as
Hmm.
an artist, I feel like you still have to do what you love doing.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I believe it is important to have a backup. It is important to have something else you're doing by the side because sometimes you might be lucky as a young artist and then you get a big break. And
mm-hmm.
sometimes it might take a while. It might take a couple of years before you get your big break. And within that period, obviously, you have to be providing for yourself. You have to be paying bills and all, and you have to, find something else to be doing besides the art.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm doing it because I love it. That's just the only. I can't give any other explanation because it's what I love. It's what gives me happiness and all. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I wish I understood that years ago. But yeah, I'm happy with everything that I did, and how I got here and what I'm doing right now. I wish I had the courage, let's say, to do that 100% and to invest all my energy into doing art 100% early on in my life. But I'm not that old. I'm like only 30, so
yeah.
there is time.
It's still a long time. It's still a long time.
So happy where I am, and I'm happy that you decide to do that as 100% and being full on invested into your art, like this early into your life, which is super good. Let's get a little bit more details on how do you make your drawings. What material do you use, like especially? Is
I
it
use charcoal. Yeah, I use the powder. Yeah, I use the powder, and I also use the pencils, and I also use the sticks. I kind of there's a whole lot. I combine a whole lot of things. I use the powder. I use sticks. I use the pencils. I use graphite pencils. I use just a whole lot of things, really.
Yeah.
But majorly, I work with the powder, because with the powder you can kind of get soft. There's like a softness you get with the powder, because there's no pencil stroke. So with the powder, I can just go over, do like a first layer that shows maybe the tones, the light and the dark and everything. And then after that, I do like a second layer with the powder, because you need to kind of make it look, you kind of add depth when you add layers on top of it. Then I use the pencils to make it finer details. If I'm doing like fabric, if I'm doing hair, if I'm doing skin pores and whatever, I use the pencils to do all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much how.
Because usually when I see that kind of your kind of artworks, which is I used charcoal a lot especially during like my studyings, and still, but was a lot before. Something that I found really interesting every time that I see that kind of artworks, it's the erasing bit. Usually, like you do your details or your extreme, like let's say spotlights, those bright details with the erasing. Is that something that you use as well?
Yeah, I do. I use the erase. There's a really tiny eraser that's like a pencil. It's a Tombow Mono Zero. I use that, and then there's an electric one.
The
electric eraser. So I use those two, but I use the electric eraser more, because you can kind of get really high highlights with that.
It really erase a lot. Erase better.
I use that.
If you think about it, it's really funny that you use an eraser to make like a mark and make the drawings, like canceling what you did. It's super it's super interesting, super funny. But curious about that. Sorry, we gig out a little bit for a second, talking about materials and stuff, but it is what it is. Do you like to explain your artworks to the audience, like to people that see us, or you prefer that the drawings talks to the viewer?
Well, it's to be honest, I would say
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I'll take that as I'll say no, because I feel like there's a mystery behind it. There's a mystery behind, I feel like the mystery kind of makes people, what is he saying? What is he trying to say? And then they begin to create interpretations with themselves. I feel like I prefer that, because if you explain, maybe not everybody relates to what you're going through, so it might not be profound to them. But if you just allow them to just get their own interpretations and see, how the artwork relates to them, I feel like it's more beautiful that way, because then you're not imposing what you created on the viewers. Rather, you're allowing them to see the art and the art to speak to them without you saying anything about it. I think I do prefer that a whole lot.
I see. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I don't mind explaining what the artwork is. Sometimes there is no really an explanation. It's just for the fun of doing.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes I just do stuff because
because
just because I like the like how it come out, and
Yeah.
the way I'm doing that kind of particular paintings or drawing.
Yeah.
But I understand, if somebody asks me, especially if they are not really practical to the artwork to the art world in general,
Yeah.
and they don't really understand maybe what's going on. So I would rather help them, like, with an explanation. But I did find sometimes, which is curious, I find sometimes people that are like, no, I don't want to know, I just want to
Yeah.
see. And
Yeah.
if I have a question, I might ask, but usually I go with my guts, and what I like, what I don't like. There is no really a reason behind,
Yeah.
which is interesting as well as an audience.
Yeah.
I try to approach museum like that, galleries like that. I do usually go around and see what I like, and if I like something, that I really like something, I'll go back and try to understand
Yeah.
what's going on. But yeah, I feed the eyes before, which is, yeah, it's a way of seeing artworks. So do you use drawings as a way to get, do you ever paint? You said you paint sometimes.
I paint sometimes, but I just paint, because I can a little, not as good as drawing, but I just paint because why not? As
Yeah,
an artist,
yeah,
you're always curious to try. So sometimes I paint. Then some commissions too, they say they want me to do it in color, so I have to do it in color for them. And some of my first works are also paintings,
mm.
but I prefer 100% drawings, 100%,
Do
100%.
you when you start the drawings, do you stuck with the idea behind when you started, or you allowed yourself to change, let's say, the drawings, and um add an element into the drawings?
Yeah,
Because again, for people that they're not familiar, we'll put again some pictures in the video so they can understand what I mean, because it's not only like the portrait, but yeah, it's there are elements
the
into your
idea
drawings
behind, yeah,
that
yeah.
so do you allow yourself to help to add and maybe cancel, like delete some elements?
Well, I think it's a bit of both also, because I start with an idea,
Mm,
and then I have, like, in my sketchbook, I sketch. I just like do a quick, study or a quick replica of what I want the work to look like.
yeah,
And then in my head, I have an end goal. Then sometimes I follow through. I do exactly the idea I had.
yeah,
Sometimes. Then some other times I've started the work, and then I've gone maybe 40%, 30%, and I just have another idea, and I just go through with it. And then
that's
sometimes I go, and then I realize that, okay, I don't like this element, and I have to remove it and add another element. So sometimes it's, me starting with the idea I had, and then sometimes I just go with my guts. I just go with my creativity, let it flow as I'm drawing. So
it
it
is.
depends on
I
what.
think it's really important for an artist to allow themselves to um don't be stuck too much on the idea that you started with,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's good for the artwork in general.
Yeah. Me too.
So if you allowed yourself, it's really much your way of looking at your artwork. So I'm really I'm really happy that you think like that, because when I started, I was not thinking like that. I was, so I'm going to do this artwork like this, and sometimes I had ideas, and I had to like oppress them, and it's not
Yeah.
really a good way of processing your ideas. So I'm happy that you think like that.
Thank you.
It's really a good way to think artworks. um anyway, thank you very much. I don't want to take too much
No,
of
it's
your
fine.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Austin, for be part of the podcast, and it was
Yeah.
really a super and interesting conversation about drawings, and your artwork is super good. Everybody goes down in the description. There is links they will find for your Instagram. Maybe if you have a website, if you want to promote something, go ahead. What's your Instagram, or if you have a website?
I have an Instagram, and I did have a website, but I'm working on it now. I'm trying to add a couple elements to it. There's this new augmented reality kind of stuff that, so I have a guy that, does websites, and also it's kind of helping me work on it at the same time.
Nice.
So my website is down, but I do have an Instagram that I can put in the description. Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you very much again.
Okay.
I wish you all the best, and you're a really good artist. Thank you very much to be part of the podcast.